Hey, this is Steve Bailey.
And Cassidy Harris.
And we're Realtors with Century 21 Preferred, offering you modern real estate solutions. And you're listening to At Home in North Iowa podcast. We have a little different podcast today. We have our good friend Joe Malone joining us. Joe is the one that's actually doing all the back end work for our podcast. And Cassidy and I were talking about, doing a podcast with just the three of us and kind of talking about real estate and ourselves and why we moved to Mason City and what's keeping us in Mason City. So, Joe, welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
It's nice to be on this side of the microphone. It is.
I'm probably sitting where Joe normally sits, and we get to
Steve
get to
feel
talk
like
to him.
he needs the throne.
Yes, pretty important, So
that's all right. You can have the A chair.
Yeah. Fine. So, Joe, you've obviously been on the radio for a long time. Is it always been in Mason City, or what's your story?
Well, I've been on the radio in Iowa for about 22 years. So 1999, I moved to Humboldt. If you know where Humboldt is, just off Highway 3 there, slow down going through Clarion. I think everybody should know that. Started off there, worked in Humboldt for 3 or 4 years. And at one point in time, I was working in Humboldt in the morning and then driving and doing an afternoon show in Webster City in the afternoon. So, I mean, we had internet, but it wasn't the kind where you can do now with, video streaming and audio streaming where everything's instantaneous. Like if you did an afternoon show on a different radio station, you drove to that radio station and did an afternoon show.
Everything was live.
Yeah, everything's live. Everything's happening that way. And I mean, like you're in there in front of that microphone. You're not remoting in from your kitchen table.
Yeah.
Or like we can do now.
Yeah.
Like we did for, the past 14, 15 months. A lot of us have. I'm lucky enough. I've got enough equipment at home that I was able to just log in and do that. Mm-hmm. I would have saved a ton of gas back in the day.
Yeah.
It's like an hour drive each way, depending on if you get pulled over in Clarion or not. Yeah. And was doing that until I got a job offer in Fort Dodge, basically a promotion in the company, and then worked in Fort Dodge for a number of years. Had about a year off from radio, and then a gentleman that I had worked with in Fort Dodge was the general manager here in Mason City, and offered me a job, and I took that in 2007, and now here we are. So,
did you always know that you were going to be in radio?
According to my friends, I talked about it like something along those lines, because I mean, YouTube and all that stuff that didn't exist when I was a teenager. Old. But my friends tell me that I had talked about doing something, in front of people in the spotlight from a young age. I don't remember that. I remember kind of finding my groove senior year of high school. So 1997, we had non-print journalism class. So you had newspaper, which I was part of because it was a slack class. You had yearbook, which I was a part of because that was a slack class. You had non-print journalism, which was brand new, which was doing the announcements on TV. So not only did each classroom now have a computer, but each classroom had a TV in it. And I'm like, this is going to be a great way to just blow off my senior year. And it turns out that I'm actually good at reading stuff and saying it back and performing, I guess,
coming up with stuff off the cuff.
Yeah. And one of the guidance counselors at high school knew about Brown Institute, which was no longer exists now, but was basically TV and radio college up in the cities. And so I went there straight out of high school, didn't even give myself more than a month off of school because I'm like, let's just go. 18 months later, graduated, and within a month and a half, I was living in Humboldt. And
Gosh,
so
I feel like that would be such a cool college to go to.
It was interesting. Like there was no shortage of people with their hands up to read from the textbook.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was none of that shy sort of stuff going on there. Everybody's like, it's my turn to read. Let me tell you in my radio voice what happened in the War of 1812.
Okay, so we had an office meeting yesterday, and Dodie was like, okay, we're going to go around the room and read paragraph to paragraph. I was like, oh, crap. I feel like I'm in English class again.
Were you counting out the paragraphs?
Yeah,
so
and then
you could
practice reading ahead so you didn't stutter. I swear I'm smart.
So when you were in school and you were doing that, you had no idea what was going on in those previous paragraphs.
I never listen to anybody else.
Yeah.
over and over and over again. I literally took in 0 except for my paragraph.
Yeah.
I could read it to you without even looking at the book by the time it got to me.
Hey, there's no shame in the game. That's knowing your part, you know?
Yeah. Did you ever judge people in college? Like, you have an awful radio voice.
No, not really. And what's kind of interesting is, like, back then, 22 years ago, that was kind of like a thing. Everybody wanted to have the great radio voice,
Yeah.
you know, and all that sort of stuff. Where now that doesn't matter anymore. I mean, it's still kind of cool to have a radio voice, but it's personality is what matters. I mean, you got just random people off the street. It turns out you can entertain. It doesn't matter what you sound like if you're interesting. Can you tell good stories? Can you relate to people? Mm-hmm. You know, that's the biggest thing. Can I be your friend within 5 minutes? Mm-hmm. Can I do that? If I sound cool while I'm doing it, plus, if not, at least I'm still your friend within 5 minutes of meeting you. Mm-hmm. You know,
I wanted to be friends with Casey Kasem.
That would have been awesome. If I had Casey Kasem's voice, I would talk to myself all day long. Yeah. I would.
I feel like if you were out in public, though, people would totally know it's you because of
they
your
do.
voice.
Yeah. And I do not look like what people think that I look like.
Like, I have a mullet, by the way.
Yeah, I have I've been told very sick mullet. I've been told I cannot cut this thing because it gets better and better and better. So is it curly today?
Yeah.
Okay, good. But yeah, no, I'll be at the grocery store and, paper or plastic, plastic's fine. Get that look over the shoulder. Like, I know that. How do I know you?
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, you're like famous around these parts.
Celeb.
Yeah.
No, talking about coming here though, to get back to, how did you get to, or did we get to that yet, or am I just telling my history? I don't know what we're doing right now.
No, it's good.
What's
it's
happening?
Good. So you got offered a position here.
Yes.
Were you married at the time? Because you are married now. We hear your wife on the radio every now and again. You guys do a deal?
I had just started dating my wife less than a year. Prior to getting the job offer, I had moved back up to the Twin Cities, met her. Things were really good. And I got the job offer and told her, hey, I got this job offer in Mason City. Do you want to go with? Because the relationship was very good, but still new. And so I'm like, man, I hope she says yes, because, this is great. And she's like, well, you're going to marry me? And I'm like, eventually. Yes, eventually we will get married. And so she's like, I put a lot of faith in you to move down here with you.
Oh, yeah.
No ring on the finger. And eventually we got there and then, added the kids and whatnot. But one of the things before I just said yes to the job offer, I first wanted to find out, what am I going to be doing? What are the stations like? What's the culture like? Is it a bunch of arrogant people running around? Because you'll have that with any sort of thing. But then I also wanted to find out, what is Mason City? I had been here once for a softball tournament, and we spent more time in the bar than we did at the baseball field. And that was years and years and years ago.
What bar was it?
It doesn't exist anymore. It is now Thai Bistro.
Oh,
yeah.
really?
Oh my gosh. Was it?
They had a basketball hoop in it, and you could shoot hoops.
What?
It was a club. I mean, it was a legit club.
You guys are too old.
It was
for
like
me.
opening weekend. This is 20 years ago.
But 11 was in there at one point, right?
Yeah. This is before 11.
Yeah.
I
I
know.
That. Yeah, that wasn't.
But yeah, it was like.
But
a
I mean,
sports...
11 was like a club too.
Yeah, it was like a sports bar thing, and I thought it was the coolest deal that we could like shoot hoops, and like it was amazing. Yeah. We had a great time, and so that's all I knew about Mason City. But I did some research online. I saw we had at that time the North Iowa Outlaws junior hockey team. I'm a big hockey guy. And so I'm like, okay, that's a plus. What's some of the negatives about moving to Mason City? Well, I'm not going to be able to just run over to my friend's house when I'm bored, because I'm going to be 2 hours away from Minneapolis, which is home. So that's a negative. But I'm only 2 hours away from Minneapolis, so we can still run up and make day trips. That's a positive. And in the end, the positives outweighed the just, minor negatives of moving somewhere new. And we're happy here. Good. We got kids, we got a family, we got rent or not rent, we got a mortgage payment that's cheaper than rent. So it's we're on our second house now. Yeah. So I mean, this is home for us. So
yeah, that's awesome.
So Cass, what's your story?
Well, I am from 20 minutes away.
Ooh, really? Where?
I know, Rockford, Iowa.
Oh my!
So what was that like moving away? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. Well, I had to lug my bed 20 minutes. In the back of a horse trailer.
Is there
probably.
a sign that says childhood home of Cassidy Harris anywhere?
Yeah, they should make something that people can tour. Yeah, it was not a big move for me, but I still do a lot in Rockford. A lot of my clients come from Rockford, and I'm super passionate about Rockford. It's just a cute little town.
I love Rockford.
Yeah, the Fossil Park.
Yeah, and the restaurant on Main Street, stopping and getting ice cream after the Fossil Park. I love that town.
Yeah, I know. It's nice. And they have what's nice is like they're the only school in a small town for miles that is just, has been like Red Rockford, Mob Rock since my parents were going to school. You know what I mean? They haven't joined with anybody.
Oh, so K through 12
is in
one
Rockford.
Location. Oh, yeah, that's super rare now.
So when
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. So when I have people moving, thinking about moving there and they might have kids or something, I'm like, listen, this is a huge plus. I actually ended up going to Manly. But so that was like 45-minute drive, because Rockford to Manly, that's like literally about 45 minutes there. So, and then North Springs to Manly, those kids, they had to travel a long ways. You're talking like Sheffield, Rockwell, the West Fork district, they have kind of a drive too.
Now, one other selling point for Rockford, if you're talking to families with kids, the fastest slide in North Iowa that I've come across. The one where
in the main park.
Yeah, in the main park where
Really?
the water tower and all that is. The slide where the steps and the slide are both on the same angle, so it's not you walk up the steps, slide down the slide, but they're both there. Fastest slide around.
Yeah. So
These
fly
are
your
the
kids
things you
down.
learn.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They have the Rockford 365 golf simulator.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, in Rockford.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
BYOB, I think it is. And then, you just get like a little key fob and you can go in there and do I think they have like little golf tournaments there during the winter. Yeah. And it's like a golf simulator. Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of cool. So they have like little things, that are kind of unique to Rockford. Like a town of how many people has a golf simulator, you know what I mean? And then the Fossil Park, that's always huge. Lots of that was almost my backyard growing up. Mm-hmm. Just walked right up.
Did that get old being next to that, or was it always cool?
No,
it
was.
It's a fossil park. It's
okay,
old.
Yes. But for you,
gosh, Joe. Yeah. No, it was. It was never like super packed unless like field trips and things like that. Now, actually, when I drive by, there's a lot more people there like every day than there.
Just checking it out.
I think probably COVID too. People were looking for things to do to get outside. It never really got old though. I love taking my daughter there still. I used to run those paths back when I was like skinny and before children, and I like to do cardio. We used to run those paths. They have a bunch of ponds out back there. And then
where the brick factory is or whatever.
Yeah. I was telling Steve I want to get somebody on from Rockford that knows everything about there because he used to work at the brick and tile place when it was still up and running. I think it burned down. Is what happened.
I'm not sure. It's been a while since I've read the signs. Like I read them, and then
you can still go there. They're closed now because there was like underground tunnels that people were going into.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like you can get underneath the. Don't do it. It's dangerous. That's why they closed the buildings down. I think there's like 2 still standing there, but you can actually see where they would like fire up and make the brick at and stuff. It's really cool.
I think it's neat. My kids are like, let's go find more stuff. I'm learning. Yeah. Come on, this is education. This is important.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And then they have the walking bridge that takes you into town.
I haven't done that.
Yeah, you can go over the river. Like, so you go down by the brick and tile area, and then you can keep going down that path, and it'll eventually take you into town, but you go, like, over a bridge, over the river and stuff, too.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's really cute. The kids come in on their bikes, and then they go fishing, and then they'll be, like, riding back with a catfish on their bike back to town. You know what I mean? It's just cute. Like, it's so small that, like, you can still do that with your kids in an area like that.
So you graduate high school and you just moved to Mason City?
Yeah, I started going to college for business and marketing, which is why I'm so interested in marketing and stuff. That's my favorite part about real estate. And then I bought my first house. My husband moved here from Dallas. And like you said, are you going to marry me? My husband moved from Dallas, Texas to Iowa before we were married or anything. And
how'd you guys meet?
My mom met him first at a bar and was like, you're kind of cute. And
this is your mom or you?
My mom.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. All
yeah,
right.
yeah. I was in Mason and she was in Osage and she saw him at a bar and was like, "Oh, you're kind of." He was back visiting his dad and his grandpa passed away.
Like cute for my daughter, or kind of cute for.
No,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
She called me and she's.
I'm just trying to figure this all out. Because
she's
this
married,
sounds
Joe.
very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, and she was like, "You're so cute," and I have a single daughter, and so she like FaceTimed me. Yeah, it's so weird. She was like pimping me out, and yeah, so she FaceTimed me, and it was like she used to do that all the time. Like she would see cute guys, and she would call me all the time and be like, "You should talk to this guy," and she would text me their number. She would get their number for me and everything.
This is Craig. He delivers pizza, so you know he has a job and a car.
Yeah.
And he has insurance. Cass, you got to talk to Craig.
Yeah, exactly. So. Yeah. And so I was like, stop doing that. But then he like got my number. We added each other on Snapchat. We actually talked for 2 years before we ever met each other in person.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Cause we were like, oh, we'll never meet each other. So that we knew each other's like deepest, darkest stuff. Cause we just like vented to each other and opened up. Then we met and he came to Okoboji for a family reunion. And he was like, you should come to Okoboji for me. And, you know, we can meet at a family reunion. I was so nervous on my way there. I called my best friend. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm going to meet him for the first time and all of his aunts and uncles. And yeah. So I did go, but yeah. And then he came back for my sister's wedding. We had actually only hung out like probably 4 times before we moved here to Iowa.
That is crazy.
Like in person.
Well, that's cool though. I mean, it obviously has worked.
Yeah. We packed up everything in his little Nissan Altima. We left behind like his bed and his furniture and stuff like that. And I think they moved somebody else in and they used it. But yeah, we lived in like a little 1-bedroom apartment for $300 when we first moved here. I mean, talk about on top of each other. It was like crazy. Wow. Yeah.
That's gutsy.
Yeah.
But I suppose you knew each other for 2 years. So, I mean, what's the difference?
Well, I mean, we felt like we knew each other about we did. He probably knew more than like my ex-boyfriend knew about me because I would like vent to him about like everything, you know?
And I'm sure over those 2 years, you dated multiple people and.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I was like, we're probably never going to meet. Do you want to go on a date? No. I mean, like, yeah, I went on
I've got
dates.
a boyfriend. You don't know him. He's from Texas.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I used to call him after a couple of drinks because I thought he had an accent, you know, and I'd be like, talk to me. I'd be like, what's up, y'all? And I'm like, oh my gosh, stop it. So what about you, Steve? What's your story?
So I was born and raised in Mason City. And so graduated in 99 from Mason City High. I met Brooke, my wife, when we were 16 years old at Come and Go gas stations. We were both working at Come and Go at the time. And we actually, they used to do these like store tour things. So I had to drive a car from Mason City to Decorah, and in kind of like in payment, the supervisor, which was my wife's uncle, said, "Hey, I'll pay for dinner if you take Brooke out for a date." And I was like, "Sweet, let's go." Yeah. So he was kind of our matchmaker, you know, and
see, like our families are pimping us.
Yeah. And so we went out on a date and been together ever since, and have a couple kids. We did move away to Rochester for 5 years. And this is a little bit of a story about Mason City. So my wife got into the anesthesia program at Mayo Clinic. So we moved all of our stuff to Rochester. She'd been working in Rochester, but driving back and forth. So when she got into school, we decided to move there. And really fell in love with Rochester. Rochester has a lot of really nice opportunities, and lived there for 5 years. And I just got my real estate license up there and was selling real estate up in Rochester, and things were going really good. And we were on vacation, and Brooke got a Facebook message about a position in Mason City, and we still owned a house here that we had rented out. And we were like, well, let's take a look at Mason City from not from living there our entire lives, but let's take a look at it from our standpoint as a family now, because now we have 2 kids, and there were so many pluses and minuses. There were so many pluses. I think you were talking about you're doing positives and negatives for that, and we did the exact same thing. And our list of positives was huge, and our list of negatives, we're very, very minimal. So
what were your positives?
Positives, some of the key things were both grandparents. Brooke grew up in North Springs. I obviously grew up in Mason City. So we have grandparents and great-grandparents locally. Kids were a little younger. We didn't really need like daycare or anything like that, but they were always there for us when we needed to. One of the businesses that had just moved to town when we, right before we moved back, was like Caribou Coffee and that Zamerix, and we're just seeing all these like things happening.
Because you moved back when I was like still kind of doing assistant and realtor work at Century 21.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, and we saw like the downtown plaza had all these new lights and this fake grass, and they were doing a lot of progressive things in downtown. And we just thought the opportunity was really good, so we decided to make the move, and super happy.
So, not to sidetrack from your story, but has Mason City always based time around buildings?
Yes.
Because you mentioned we moved back when they built Zamerix in Caribou.
Yeah.
And I remember when the old Hobby Lobby used to exist.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
It's like everybody talks about either this building just got built or when that one burnt down as to when that happened. When was your child born? Well, when they expanded Target into Super Target. That's how old my kid is.
Yeah.
That's a Mason City
You
thing.
do that directional for everything, though. Like, I'll be on the phone with my mom, and she'll be like, "Where are you?" I'm like, "I'm by the cows."
Yeah.
By the cows in the red barn. Do you know where I'm talking about? The red barn house and the cows. Do you know where I'm talking?
Are you honestly asking?
Yeah.
Me that? No.
Is that on, are you talking about by Pierce? Is that where the cows are?
This is out. Is there cows on Pierce?
Yeah. In between Casey's and the creek, there's cows. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, all the time.
I have never known that.
You're talking about 12th Street on the way to Nyack, the red barn, and across the street's all the cows.
I'm talking on like Thrush. You're going out of town. You go over the overpass. There's that red barn house that was built like so many years ago. And then there's like cows and horses. It's beautiful right there.
Yeah, south.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. I do know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And she, you always know where you're talking.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to be confused. I'm going to be like, which cows are you talking
Yeah,
about? The
exactly.
Nyack cows, the Pierce cows,
I know.
the Thrush cows.
I know. By the Thrush cows, for real. I'm by the cornfield.
Cass, this might be before your time, but do you know where Hobby Lobby is right now?
Yeah.
That used to be Walmart. So that was the very that was almost the edge of Mason City.
I think I remember that when they moved out and built the super.
Yeah. So everything's super Walmart.
Super Target. Yeah.
But sorry, I didn't mean to sidetrack on that. But okay, so you moved back to Mason City then? You made the choice and everybody was on board? You
Everybody
didn't have to convince
on board.
anyone?
Our son, it was difficult. Our son had a nice group of friends in Rochester. He's a little quieter than my daughter. So my daughter can like literally go anywhere and come back with 5 friends. She's like, oh my gosh, she's my best friend. You know?
Like, totally
What's her name? I don't know.
Yeah.
But she's my best friend.
Yeah. And my son, he's a little more introverted and he had some couple of really, really good friends in Rochester. And, he went from, he went out of 5th grade, which was still elementary school in Rochester, and then had to go to Lincoln. So Lincoln, that's a big jump from an elementary school, for somebody that hasn't experienced that before. So he had to learn how to, do a lock on his, on his locker and all of that stuff and switch classes, which he didn't have to do. So that first 6 months was very difficult for Colton when we first moved, but he's adjusted really well, and he's going to be a junior in high school this year. So obviously everything worked out. So
excellent. Yeah, I moved around a lot as a kid. Like it was almost every other year we were moving, and so I get that it can be difficult. Yeah, very difficult.
I remember when I switched from Rockford to North Springs. It was in the middle of a school year. I thought I was going to vomit. My first day.
Colton was halfway through as well.
Oh, so yeah. I thought I was going to vomit. You feel like all eyes are on you when you walk into that room for the first time.
That's because they are.
Yeah, they're like whispering about you. People are so mean. Kids are mean.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially if you're a girl.
Yeah, I'm like, don't hurt my feelings.
But you've been in real estate then the whole time?
Yeah, 15 years.
Okay. And now I'm going to ask questions as somebody that doesn't know a lot of things. Do you have to have different real estate license for Minnesota to Iowa?
Yeah.
Is it the same test and they just changed some of the words, or?
Well, national is the same.
Yeah, national is the same. So there's reciprocity between Iowa and Minnesota.
So if you got one there, you're good here.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. You just have to go through the process. I did screw that process up when I moved back, because I did take like 4 months to redo our house. And when I got an Iowa driver's license, it no longer had reciprocity. If I would have kept my Minnesota license and then applied for my Iowa real estate license, no problem. It was fine. But because I got an Iowa driver's license, I no longer, my license wasn't valid in Minnesota anymore. And
you don't exist as a person in Minnesota.
Pretty much.
Wow.
So then I had to retake my testing again, which was fine.
Awful. I left my testing day and my head was pounding. I thought I was going to vomit again. Apparently that's a thing with me.
Anytime there's nerves involved.
Yeah.
So what is a real estate test like? Is it laws? Is it financing? Yeah. Like what? I mean, because you got to know a bunch of different stuff to be a realtor.
Yeah, it's a little bit of everything. So you have national and state. So states, you're going to be you need to know like how many feet are in an acre, Cass.
I don't even know.
I don't remember
93
either.
Or
yeah. So it's stuff like that, stuff that we don't use very often.
That was really rude.
Why is your face so red right now? Let me Google this real quick.
Hey Siri.
How many feet are in an acre?
Yeah.
But there's ethics that you got to learn. There's a lot of
ethics and law. They kind of contradict each other because what might be legally okay,
is ethically not cool to do.
Yeah, ethically, and you can be in violation of both, so that's where it can get kind of trick questions on the tests.
Okay,
that's why why it was.
I remember that from my driver's test. It said, "How far away from someone do you need to turn your brights off?" Mm-hmm. And I said 500 feet, and they're like, "Wrong, 200." And I'm like, "Well, I'm just trying not to be a jerk to people."
Yeah, exactly.
And I got the question wrong for not being a jerk.
Yeah,
maybe you don't know how bright my lights are.
I want to, because you just talked about driving test, I want to divert just a little bit. Do you know that, so you don't have to take driver's ed anymore. You can self-school driver's ed.
No way.
Yeah.
So then what's the point of all those driver's ed class or cars and stuff around town?
So it just changed. So
you have to be 18 though, or is 16. It younger? Oh, for real?
Yep. So
wait, what? You thought you got your license at 18?
No, I got my license at 18.
No way.
Yeah, I didn't. I had a car before I had a driver's license. So
was that a thing? Like you couldn't get it until 18?
I didn't do behind the wheel. I didn't do any of these classes that I think Steve's about to say that don't matter anymore.
Oh, so because of that?
Yeah, because of that, you can't get your license till you're 18.
Yeah. Okay. So if you don't do driver's ed, you can't get it till you're 18.
Yeah.
Oh, so you can still get
that's the thing now. Still.
Yeah.
No, 16.
Yeah, so 16 years old. So 14, you get your permit.
Yeah.
You drive for 2 years. And then I can teach. So I have a 13-year-old daughter. I can teach her how to drive, and then she'll take an online test, and then she can have a license. How scary is that?
That is really scary.
Yeah.
Especially if that online test is Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, for real.
You're like, you hit 2 pedestrians.
Yeah.
Pass. Like, all right. Yes.
Yeah. Fail would have been 3.
Yeah.
I think I'm just really bad at testing. The permit test, I think I failed like 3 or 4 times.
It's good. It's good. Good to know.
So look out for me on the road.
Can I ask you some realtor questions?
Yeah.
What was it like, ladies first, selling your first home or helping someone buy their first home, like your first transaction?
Yeah.
Was that fun? Was it like, what was your feelings after you did what you set out to do the first time?
Yeah. So I was very enthusiastic. The first home I sold was to my dad.
Okay.
Family's your best client.
They are, and then they aren't. He did that. He ended up buying a rental home, I'm sure, just to help me get going and stuff. And then I think my second home was my grandpa. So they all kind of did that to help me get going.
My third home was my sister.
Yeah, when they
I actually haven't sold any homes outside my family.
If anybody wants me to sell you one, please help me. No, no. It was really exciting though. I put my sign in the yard and I took pictures by every sign, and I was so enthusiastic about it. And
the people buying the home are like, "Can you move so I can get a picture by the sign?"
Exactly. Yeah, for real. Yeah. Hold on. Could you actually just take a picture of me? That would be great. No, I was so excited. That was going to be my thing. That was my plan. Every house I sold, I was going to take a picture with a sold sign in front of every single home that I sold. But then last year I sold 43 homes. I was like, probably not going to keep doing that. I think I got 3 homes in and I stopped.
That's good. You get busy too, you know?
Yeah. But I mean, it was exciting. You know, I was super stoked and like, look at me. I sold a house to my dada.
And for you, was it exciting? Was it nervous? Like, are you nervous the first time that you go in and sit in the boardroom and all that sort of stuff?
For sure. I remember So my first client was a good friend of mine. He was in my wedding. It was a neat process. He's a unique individual and made my life very difficult.
Okay.
Yeah. No
you
joke.
were going to say easy.
No, definitely made my life difficult. I actually hope he listens to this podcast. I won't name him, but he would reach out to the sellers.
Oh, did he know them?
No.
Stop doing that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Just directly. Hey, like what can we do for a price here? So we wrote the very first offer that I wrote. It was from a very veteran realtor, and